Welcome to my mommy's podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Mother Dirt's amazing AO Plus Mist. Many of us realize just how important the gut microbiome is to health, and we're familiar with things like probiotics and fermented foods that can help optimize gut health. But did you know that our bodies are made up of many bacterial ecosystems, and that without them, our health would crumble? Our skin is the largest ecosystem or microbiome, and often it needs a little help. Modern hygiene products deplete the necessary beneficial bacteria on our skin, and the AO Plus Mist patented ammonia oxidizing bacteria, or AOB, works by consuming the ammonia in your sweat and producing beneficial byproducts for your skin, which brings balance to your skin biome and helps restore this natural ecosystem. What I love about this mist is that it has almost completely removed the need for me to wear deodorant, since ammonia is the stinky part of sweat. This has become a vital part of my skincare routine. All Mother Dirt products are plant-based with minimal ingredients, and they are gentle and effective and great for the whole family. You can save 20% on your first purchase with the code FREESHIP20 by going to motherdirt.com/wellnessmama to learn more and to buy now. Again, that's motherdirt.com/wellnessmama. This episode is brought to you by Perfect Keto. I have heard from a lot of you who are trying the keto diet right now, and Perfect Keto has several products that makes it so much easier and tastier. They have keto-friendly sports drinks with zero additives, zero carbs, and only high-quality ingredients. And I've gotten so many questions about this. They also have exogenous ketones that raise blood ketone levels up to 1.5 millimoles per liter. So that would be simulating a fast. A lot of people use these exogenous ketones to increase mental performance and energy production and fat burning without the need to do extended fasting. And Perfect Keto really just helps make ketosis available to everyone, everywhere, all the time without the need to do extended fasting, like I said. You can check out these and all of their other products at perfectketo.com/healthymoms. And if you use the code healthymoms, all uppercase, you can save 20% on any order. Hello and welcome to the Wellness Mama podcast. I'm Katie from wellnessmama.com, and today's episode is going to answer a question I get a lot from you guys and have not even made time to write about specifically yet, and that is fluoride and what it does to our bodies. And I am here with Melissa Gallico, who's the author of The Hidden Cause of Acne and F is for Fluoride, a Feasible Fairytale for Freethinkers 15 and up. She's also no rookie when it comes to research. She's a former military intelligence officer, a Fulbright scholar, an FBI intelligence analyst, and she has instructed classes for the FBI intelligence analyst at Quantico and provided intelligence support for national security investigations. She graduated with honors from Georgetown and has a master's from the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. She's obviously well-educated, well-traveled, and well-researched, and I cannot wait to jump in. So Melissa, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Katie.
Like I said, I cannot wait to jump in. And I also should say I have had a lot of people on this podcast, and I think your bio may be one of the most impressive. That is a lot of things in one bio. And I love that you have obviously a very analytical and research based background. I think that's going to be really important since we're going to go deep on a topic that is pretty controversial, which is fluoride. So to start off, I'd love to just talk about fluoride in general. Like I said, it's a controversial topic, but I'd love if you could start with just explaining what it is and when and why it's used.
Sure. So most of us know fluoride as a dental treatment, and that's always how I looked at it as well. I used fluoride in my toothpaste, and I would get fluoride dental treatments when I saw the dentist twice a year. And I didn't really think much about it. I didn't learn until later when I discovered my sensitivity to it that the controversy really does go very deep. And the other side of the story is that fluoride is also a common air pollutant. We don't realize this now because there are a lot of restrictions about fluoride and how it can be emitted into the atmosphere. But back in the 1930s and the 40s, when they first started studying fluoride as a potential dental treatment, that is when they were having a lot of trouble with fluoride as an air pollutant. And they were getting lawsuits from coast to coast. And it's very common with aluminum smelters and brick and tile manufacturers, anything that deals with mining operations. So fluoride is a common element in the Earth's crust. And whenever you're mining and tearing apart rock, you're basically going to have fluoride as a byproduct. So not only did they have this byproduct, which they didn't have anything to do with it, but they were also liable for lawsuits from people that were noticing problems, not just with their personal health, but with agriculture. Tens of thousands of acres were ruined because of fluoride pollution in the early 20th century. So that's the other side of the story, is the pollution story that you don't often hear when you just think of fluoride as a dental treatment.
Interesting. Yeah, I have researched fluoride pretty heavily, and I know that that's not one of the more common things that comes up. And obviously, it is more well known in the dental world. So I'm curious, before we move on, if you have any research from what you found on, is it actually effective in a dental capacity? And if so, should we actually be ingesting it, or what is its mechanism that's effective, if any?
So they started adding it to the water supply in the mid-40s is when they did the first trial. And by 1950, they said, yes, this is great. We should all add it to our water. And the reason was because they thought that it prevented dental decay. And over the years, that has changed. And now it's supposedly more of a topical application that is effective in preventing dental decay, not so much ingesting it. So there's a lot of wasted fluoride and a lot of people who are exposed to fluoride that don't really need it because their teeth are already formed. So there's a lot of controversy on how effective it is when you're consuming it in the water supply. And a lot of dentists think it's more of a topical effectiveness. For me personally, since I'm so sensitive to it and all the research I've done, I don't rely on fluoride at all for my dental care. I think nutrition is a much more important factor. And I know you go to that through that in depth on your site. So personally, I don't think it's effective, but in the dentistry world, of course, there's a lot of different opinions on that.
For sure. That's what I found in researching as well. And that I actually have a really close friend who's a dentist, and he said there is some research. It could definitely be argued one way or both ways as far as if it's effective in the mouth on teeth directly. I'm like you, I avoid it completely because I'm sensitive. But as far as consuming it and ingesting it, he's like, that would kind of be the equivalent of eating Band-Aids because you have a cut. Like, it works topically. That doesn't mean you need to eat it. So that's kind of the way I look at it. But for me, at least, coming from having Hashimoto's and thyroid issues, I really don't handle fluoride well. And I know that you said you don't handle it well either, but you've written in depth about this. And one of the problems it is linked to is acne from what you've found. So can you walk us through how you came to the conclusion that fluoride is linked to acne?
Sure. So this is what made me interested in fluoride, was because through my job and through school, I studied abroad and I lived abroad in a lot of different places. And I noticed that my skin was effortlessly clear in several countries: Senegal, Tunisia, Scotland, the Caribbean. And then as soon as I came back to the United States, even if it was just for like a week-long visit, I would start to get acne again, like really painful cystic acne, those really stubborn cysts that form around your jawline, around your mouth. And ultimately, I had it like all over my face, my neck, my chin, my back. So it was pretty extreme. And this went on for almost 2 decades, just of moving back and forth. And every time I lived abroad, I thought, oh, I must have figured it out. Or, this last time it was in Scotland when I did my year as a Fulbrighter, and it was completely clear. I was in my 30s and I thought, okay, I think I've finally outgrown acne. Then I returned to the States and it was worse than ever. So that's when I thought, okay, there's something causing my acne that I'm being exposed to here in the States that I'm not exposed to in these other places I've lived. And I thought maybe lead, because that's, a toxin that you think about. I knew it was the water because I could even kind of feel it when I washed my face. Like, I didn't feel clean. I felt like it left a sheen on my face, like I was having a reaction to it. So I thought it was lead. Then I thought maybe something in the pipes, like copper piping. And then I thought, maybe it's the fluoride. And I had read a few journal articles that said topical fluoride can cause acne, and that there's a lot of case studies about that. So I had cut out toothpaste and I stopped drinking tea, which is another source of fluoride. So I didn't think that I was being exposed to fluoride outside of the water. So I decided I would test it through just switching my water source and see if my skin cleared up. And I saw a major improvement. It didn't completely go away, but I saw a major improvement. So I thought, okay, maybe this is one of the factors in my acne. And then I started to realize fluoride is in a lot of other things besides water. And as I eliminated those sources, it was kind of trial and error. I'd get a big flare up in my skin, and then I would do the research and find out that something I had eaten that day or the prior 24 hours, that's about how long it takes for that reaction to develop, was high in fluoride. And when I finally figured out all the main fluoride sources in my diet, my skin was perfectly clear, just like it was when I lived abroad. So I started writing about this online, and I was amazed at the people that I contacted who said that they had the same condition. They were like, thanks for writing about this. I never would have thought about it, but I stopped consuming these things and I stopped using fluoridated toothpaste and my skin cleared up. So I thought there must be a lot of us, there's people who are allergic to everything these days, so I thought I'll write this free little PDF guide and put it on the internet of just how to clear your acne if you happen to have this weird fluoride allergy. And I was really shocked at the amount of people I heard from. One woman wrote to me and said, your book saved my life. I never would have figured this out. And that's when I thought I need to make a proper book, put it on Amazon so people can see it. So I did the self-published book, and then all of these reviews, people that had had acne for 30 years. And it was really when I was researching for that big book that I realized this isn't just me. This isn't just a few people with a weird allergy. It's actually very common. And it's just not diagnosed because most people don't know how fluoride has infiltrated the food supply.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're right. It's easy for most people to realize it's in the dental world. And most people maybe are aware that it's in our water supply, but we don't think about the fact that obviously our water supply is used in creating our food supply. Or if you drink water anywhere but home, it's still in the water supply, even if you're filtering at home. But I feel like this is so reminiscent of my story. Like when we have our own struggle, we're obviously the most motivated to figure out how to fix it. And for me, that was the case too. It took me years of research and talking to doctors and finding a doctor who would work with me to find my own health answers. And it sounds like this was yours as well. But I'm really curious, why don't you think that dermatologists have figured this out yet? Because obviously they must have people coming in all the time with acne and they want to be able to give them a solution. Why do you think that maybe the conventional world is not connecting these dots yet?
Well, I used to think that they hadn't figured it out, but right now I'm reading a book by George Waldbot, who was a world famous allergist back in the mid 20th century. And he's writing about skin eruptions from fluoride, chronic fluoride intoxication, which is exactly what I have. So I am not the first person to figure it out. There's definitely been others. And his book is called Struggle with Titans. And he talks about how his research was suppressed and how his name was disparaged and how he just could not get the recognition that this problem needed, even though he tried so hard for so many years to really raise the red flag about fluoride. But dermatologists haven't looked at it because they tend to focus on pills and creams and treatments that can be administered, whereas fluoride is just, reducing it in your diet. There's really not a lot of money in that. And Johns Hopkins did a study in 2002, and they looked at all the literature on acne from the second half of the 20th century, and they found that 99.6% of all the published studies failed to even mention diet, let alone actually study it as the root cause of acne. So they've gotten a little bit better with that recently, and mostly it's thanks to the paleo movement. Those doctors who are really interested in paleo have started to study diet more as a cause of acne, and they've been able to get funding for those studies through, like, the National Meat Industry Training Council of Australia has funded studies about the paleo diet and acne. So they're making progress looking at diet more, but fluoride is just so invisible and it's so insidious. You won't see it on any labels, and it's really off the radar. So I think that's why they haven't noticed it yet. But I hope now that this book is out and more people are recognizing that they have this condition, that there will eventually be more studies and it'll be more well known.
Yeah, I'm hopeful of that as well. And you mentioned this other book that you're reading that he was looking at fluoride and skin inflammation or eruptions. I'm curious, is there any link that you know of between fluoride and other skin problems besides just acne? I hear from a lot of moms who have kids with eczema or women struggling with psoriasis. I'm curious if there's any potential connection there as well.
There are. He writes about hives, and he just generally calls it like skin dermatitis. He doesn't even use the word acne. So back then, he says in the book that the only predictable thing about how a body will react to fluoride is that it will be unpredictable. So everyone is reacting differently. Skin reactions are really just one of the many reactions that he studied. He studied a lot of gastrointestinal problems, respiratory problems. He found fluoride in just the randomest places, the lenses of the eye, certain people with their kidney stones, and it wasn't like every kidney stone was high in fluoride. It was just certain ones. So he was just at the very beginning of figuring out how fluoride affects the body, and we still haven't figured that out yet.
That is so interesting. And it reminds me of early in my journey trying to figure out, in being a teenager, I had acne and I had other skin issues. And I remember going to a dermatologist and being told I just had dermatitis, which just means inflammation of the skin. And wanting to know, okay, but why? Why do I have that? Because it's not a deficiency of fake hormones from birth control pills, which I wasn't going to take. Like, what is actually causing this? And I feel like that is something I'm really hoping, like you, to see more and more of in the research as we move forward. Now that